It's now my pleasure to introduce this afternoon's student speaker. Amina Safi is a Syrian-French Muslim American who is called to serve as the voice of the voiceless. When it comes to issues of diversity, equity, and civil rights, she has established herself on campus and beyond as a force to be reckoned with. Before coming to the Humphrey School, her activism and her research were acknowledged by the Minneapolis Star-Tribune, featured at the Minnesota State Capitol, and by her former alma mater, Augsburg College. At the Humphrey School, she has broadened our understanding of diversity, challenged us to confront our biases, and continuously reminds us to uphold authenticity in our public policy work. On a personal note, let me mention that I was moved in February when I received a personal note from Amina in the aftermath of attacks on Jewish institutions in Minnesota and elsewhere. Amina, who knows I am Jewish, sent me articles and information documenting support and solidarity with the Jewish community from the Twin Cities Muslim community, and ended her note by writing, and I quote, "I hope these actions can bring some joy to you, your family, and community." Indeed, they did. Her note provides some insight not only about this remarkable young woman, but also, frankly, about our broader community. So please join me in welcoming this year's student speaker, Amina Safi.
Thank you, Dean Schwartz, and thank you to all those who nominated me, those who voted for me, for giving me homework on my graduation day. No, really, thank you for giving me the opportunity and having faith, having faith in me to present this speech. Since my activism does not stop with my being your commencement speaker today, throughout my speech, I'll utilize Arabic or Islamic phrases and explain them to you so that we can normalize Arabic and Islam, yes, as also being an American way of life. So I'd like to start out with the Muslim greeting of peace be upon you all, or Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Don't be scared, but it seems that we have some Muslims amongst us. Hey, class of 2017, remember our first semester of the Humphrey when we all had the imposter syndrome? Well, look at yourself today after all the STATA assignments, memos, and capstone of professional research. Each one of you has proven that you deserve to be here today. We did it. Congratulations. I'm responsible for sharing with you some great pieces of wisdom and inspiring you to go out knowing that you will be underpaid and underappreciated to make this world a better place for everyone. The best way I know how to do this is by being personal. So brace yourself for getting to know Amina Safi perhaps more so than you were intending. Everyone should celebrate their efforts in getting here today. Let us recognize the amount of social events, family, Netflix, and sleep you had to turn down in order to obtain this degree. Nonetheless, it would be highly disingenuous not to recognize that some of us had many more weights and hurdles to overcome than others. I don't know what it's like to be a black man or an undocumented immigrant, but I do know what it was like for me, a Syrian Muslim American woman, to get a master's in public policy at the Humphrey. In my very first week, I was asked by a well-intentioned colleague if I was given this Clinton scholarship because I'm Syrian, denying me the ability to offer anything more than my ethnicity. Take the imposter syndrome and multiply it by 10, and that is how I was feeling. This is in addition to conversations about how much of a threat Syrians like me posed and whether or not we should allow them into the country. Of course, with elections and Islamophobes like Mr. Trump, there is the overall discussion of Islam as a disease that is plaguing the world and increasing violent extremism. This being said, while ignoring the fact that Muslims account for less than 7% of violent attacks in the United States. Don't be mistaken. These conversations happen amongst people who come from educated backgrounds. Even with all of this going on, to the disdain of some, I built and I thrived. People of color who are constantly dehumanized, belittled, and marginalized thrive. Native Americans whose land we're all standing on hold firmly to their culture and send women like Peggy Flanagan to the Minnesota House of Representatives and immigrant black women like Ilhan Omar. So people can sure as heck make things difficult, but that won't stop people of color from leveraging the resources available to them to ensure that they are heard. In order to carry forth the great privilege and responsibility of having obtained exceptional education, we must always exercise three things: authenticity, allyship, and yes, the often ingrained term of the Humphrey, networking. According to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, authenticity means to be true to one's own personality, spirit, or character, sincere and authentic without pretensions, conforming to or based on fact, and last, it means something that conforms to an original so as to produce essential features. As policy graduates, this means that when you go out there and work with different communities, even if you have preconceived notions about them, you keep those in the reservoir of your mind and let them tell their own story. It means that we listen to their needs and their desires without a preconceived notion of what we think their desires are, what we think their capabilities are, or what we think are the solutions that they need. Not doing so without realizing it, we would engage in social imperialism. And I remember in our management of organizations class, when we discussed the pay rates of Carlson graduates and Humphrey graduates, we emphasized that we chose the field of public affairs because we care about the common good, more than we care about a big paycheck. We care about making people's lives better, not just advancing on to a job where we can get more money. I ask you to remember that. In the chaos of the world we live in today, we need you to hold on to that value now more than ever. Me standing before you today and giving you this speech is proof that even if you are a tiny, soft-spoken, and look like a teenager, you can still have an impact. Don't let Don't let society's perception of you shape how you act. As bombarding as it may be, don't internalize their stereotypes and negativity. I say this especially to people of color, women, and women of color. You can't miss the fact that I'm a conservative Muslim woman. The stereotypes you have probably heard about people who look like me are that I'm oppressed, my religion is dangerous, and that I hate the West. Judging by the fact that I got enough people to vote for me to speak before you today, hopefully lets you know that I did not wait to be given permission to talk, nor has my religion prevented me from succeeding in any way. Rather the opposite. My religion has been my biggest support system to withstand the whirlwinds thrown my way. When people tell you that you're not good enough, when they constantly doubt your intelligence and capabilities, when they get intimidated by your presence around them, let your self-confidence shine higher than their ignorance of you. Remind yourself that just like all other human beings, you bleed red, breathe the same air, and was created by God that cares not for the color of your skin or physical appearance, but one who cares about the piety of your heart. The holiness of your life and being is a God-given entitlement that no one, no teacher, no cop, no president can take away from you. Hold on to that. Now, I want everyone to listen, but especially my white colleagues and friends in the audience. Whether you like it or not, you have been given much privilege based on no other reason than your whiteness. It is not your fault that society we live in has uplifted your characteristics to be superior than others, but the power you have been given necessitates great responsibility. We all need to be better allies to people of color. I know the challenges that come with this, considering that I too hold white privilege in Muslim communities, where, unlike on the national sphere, my religion takes a backseat and my skin color is the driving force. Without a Muslim even knowing me, the fact that I'm Arab and can speak Arabic socially places me on a higher pedestal than other Muslims. I'm thought of as having a greater understanding of Islam, and therefore more practicing, without there being an actual test of my understanding and implementation of the principles. I work with my Muslim friends of color to learn from them how I can use my advantage to uplift them. So yes, I sometimes know what it's like to have privilege. I also know what it's like to be treated like a dangerous disease. The supposed Syrian Muslim who believes in violence and the destruction of the West and all things not Muslim. Having had the ability to be in these two spheres, allow me to tell you how to be an ally. Not someone who wants to be the good white person, but an authentic ally that empowers the people of color around them. The first step to doing this is to listen without assuming you have all the answers. This is the opposite of the savior complex. If there is a conversation that concerns people of color, give them the microphone. Don't speak to them referencing a colonized story of who they are, what they are like, and what they care about. Come in with an open mind so that you truly hear them and see them as equal, capable human beings like you are. Don't come in presuming that you already have the solution, but ask them what they want and how they want it, regardless of what you think they need. They are smart people and who can manage life well when given the opportunity and resources to do so. If you have received an email from me, I hope you took the time to read the quote after my signature. It is one of the verses in the Quran that I use to guide my life that I hope you will find inspiration from. I will first read it in Arabic to familiarize everyone with the language and hopefully reduce the number of 911 calls that happen, then offer an English translation. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين بالقسط شهداء لله ولو على أنفسكم أو الوالدين والأقربين إن يكن غنيا أو فقيرا فالله أولى بهما فلا تتبعوا الهوى أن تعدلوا وإن تلووا أو تعرضوا فإن الله كان بما تعملون خبيرا. O you who believe, stand out firmly for justice as witnesses to Allah, even as against yourselves or your parents or your kin, and whether it be against rich or poor. For Allah can best protect both. Follow not the lusts of your breasts or your hearts, lest you swerve. And if you distort justice or decline to do justice, verily Allah is well acquainted with all that you do. I call upon all of us to reflect as this verse does, to speak the truth even if it makes you the culprit. We all have heard about the bystander effect, where none of us do something because we think someone else will. This past election was a result of some of our fellow Americans not believing in the power of a woman or that their vote will make a difference, that someone else will go out there and put in the work to make sure the right candidate makes it into the White House. As policy graduates, I don't think we have that luxury. The Humphrey has taught us to do better and be better than to minimize the impact each one of us is capable of having. Be an ally. Speak up. When you see someone saying or acting in a way that dehumanizes or disrespects someone else, remember that you went to a school called the Humphrey, an institution named after a man that said, "Today we know that the World War II began not in 1939 or 1941, but in the 1920s and 1930s, when those who should have known better persuaded themselves that they were not their brother's keeper." I hope you all voted for me to... I hope you all voted for me to stand up here knowing that I can get carried on about things I care about. But I'll be moving on to my third and final point. We all need to network, not only because Jennifer Geyer Wood tells us to, but because none of us can do things alone. The power of working together was seen in the Women's March on Washington that was led by a Muslim, a Mexican, Black, and white woman. I don't stand before you as someone who is superior to you in any way. I'm just a servant of God, although I know that not all of you believe in one, who asks you to see the good potential in yourself and the people around you. Because we need that faith. We need to build community now more than ever. I will tell you that I know many Syrians who have lost everything, and the number one thing that they seek is a sense of belonging and community. They have lived through bombs, no food, and the unimaginable. What they need most is that human connection, and I think we all need that. But we must do this without greed. We must not put our rights before others. We must not think of our life as more valuable than the life of a Syrian, Palestinian, Mexican, or Black. Imagine what would have happened if Jews were supported from day one under Hitler, and the US didn't sit and wonder if stopping that lunatic was worth it. See, when we for a moment think that we deserve to live more than someone else, we have immediately lost the battle for humanity. Because humanity requires that you focus on your interconnectedness before you focus on your differences. It requires that you think of someone else's pain as your very own and take on the risk of helping like you would if your own life was on the line. That is the humanity we need to reach for true peace to come about. You cannot be a true ally or build a strong community if you place your comfort above someone else. Because guess what? There will be times when you benefit from the status quo and you will question whether you want things to change. In conclusion, I would like to remind you of the words of Dr. King and Hubert Humphrey. King said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly." Finally, Humphrey stated very wisely that it is not what they take away from you that counts. It's what you do with what you have left. Thank you, everyone, for granting me the honor to speak before you today and lending me an attentive ear. Thank you.
Well, there's no place I'd rather be this afternoon. Thank you, Amina, for those wonderful words.